We had an opportunity to talk. We are caught. Jeez.
1, 2, 3. Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken.
Welcome to Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken. I'm Joz, your host, and this is my guest co-host.
I'm Eric Moore. I'm a storyteller and communications professional.
This episode is called Delayed in Honolulu because guess what? The Park family is delayed in Honolulu after their Hawaii trip for a few hours. And Dr. Ken and Dr. Oz have this awkward interaction, which causes a situation where Dr. Ken spends much of the rest of the episode trying to convince Dr. Oz to give up his seat.
Yeah.
So while that's going on, Allison is getting a little bit over-involved in Molly's love life and accidentally breaks up with her boyfriend. So that starts a chain of reactions of text messages, etc. While they're waiting. And while Dave is waiting, he gets into a high-stakes card shark situation playing against some college kids. So that's what's happening with the Park family. But over at Welltopia Medical Group, since Ken is delayed, Dr. Julie is now the head doctor in charge, and it is Black Monday. It's the busiest day with people who are getting sick coming into the hospital. And she is not moving through those patients fast enough, to the dismay of Damona and Clark. So they have to figure out a way to get her to move faster.
So, okay, I always feel like the kids steal the show, even though we've got hilarious things going on. One of the things I loved about this episode was Albert Tsai's character Dave, like, just completely card sharking these college kids and being able to, in the end, pay for the bags, the extra bags.
It's hilarious.
It's so good. It's so good. Do you have a decent poker face? How are you?
I don't know if I have a decent poker face, but I do, as has been established in previous episodes, I do like to gamble, but like with my family, right?
Right.
And we do play the occasional game of poker, but we are playing ridiculous. And like, we don't play for money. We're just playing for pride and bragging rights. So, I mean, this happens all the time where the buy-in is literally $1. So we're like, and like each chip is worth a penny, right?
Sure.
So over the course of like 5 hours, the most you can win is like $6. And, I think that was my big win once. It was I won $3.
Wow.
And it was like 4 hours worth of pokering. And it was like exhausting, but also I got to have bragging rights that night.
How long ago was this? Was there inflation? I mean, are we talking like millions?
No, it's just a few years ago. But yeah. But I mean, I do remember being like, I earned my money fair and square, my $3. It just took that long.
That's funny.
Like, gambling's supposed to be fun, but at that point you're just like, oh, it's like a grind. Just like, why can't I finish this damn game?
I care less about the winning most of the time than it is the fooling. So I have a decent poker face, I think. And more than anything, when there's an opportunity to bluff or do something like that, I like to just see if I can do it. So we were actually just with the family over Christmas playing a game called euchre, which if you're from Michigan or the Midwest or something like that, you know euchre. There's a thing where you have to like try to guess what number other people are at and if they can get there.
Okay.
And if you don't think that you're going to be the lowest number, you can knock. And if you knock, then everybody else has to show their cards after that next round. And I am a notorious knocker. I just think it's hilarious to see like, okay, let's just see where we're at, even if I don't have the best cards.
I totally get what you mean though, because like in poker, I get made fun of because I have to see every hand. Like, like it's like I won't fold right away. Like whatever the first thing happens, I'm always like, yeah, I'm in. And it's like, so people can't tell what I'm doing. So I don't know. I don't think it's me having a good poker face. It's me kind of playing stupidly. But I'm always like, I could win this hand maybe if I just see one hand, so.
Totally. I love Albert. I think he's so great. And I love how he just basically saves the family in that episode by winning the money so that Ken doesn't have a freak out.
Yeah, but the way he does it is so, I mean, like, the way he just like hands the money to the ticket agent, it's just so funny.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
He definitely does steal a scene, steal a show lots of times. Back at Welltopia, Dr. Julie is being her usual thorough self. And I know like earlier in the season we were saying like we don't really get to see her practice medicine, but now Ken is not around, so she's got to like hold down the fort. And poor Clark and Damona, like their waiting room is a disaster zone. Yeah, like people like just piling up literally in that waiting room. Have you had an experience where you had to streamline a situation?
Yeah, actually, it was with a clinic.
Okay.
My father is a professor of optometry, and he would take my sisters and I and our mom to help him kind of set up clinics in different countries, basically as an excuse to give free healthcare to people, teach local people how to do healthcare on their own, see patients and whatnot, but then also teach students from the school how to see patients in these extreme or very different situations, because you see a lot of different medical conditions than you would in the States necessarily. So we were in Nicaragua.
And you do this every year, right?
Yeah, we've done this pretty much every year for since I was in high school.
Okay.
And we haven't done it a little bit, but what we figured out was, you can't, like Dr. Julie, you can't kind of do the whole huge exam. Especially when you kind of have certain cases that you see often not when you're dealing with eyes, you just have to do a basic screening, right? And so sometimes it's just a matter of asking the right questions. The learning curve that happened with us is we found that we were asking people, a lot of people, even children, can you read this? Can you read, trying to get them to read the letters. And a lot of the times they'd say no. And they didn't necessarily have the same experience. They weren't necessarily used to taking eye tests. Maybe they didn't actually read at all, so we were using the wrong word. But also, an eye chart isn't actual words. It's just letters. Right. So when you say, can you read this, and somebody's looking at the letters and they're not recognizing them as actual words, they might say no when they can actually see. So we learned the hard way that, we have to say, can you see this? So sometimes it's just a matter of learning words. And for Julie, you don't necessarily have to go through all the little things. You want to make sure somebody's basic wellness is taken care of, and then you can get into, okay, what's actually bothering you, and then you go into the details of those things.
Right. Well, I mean, it's partially funny, but, not funny if this was actually happening. Right. But Clark and Damona have to trick her into going faster, to make her have that realization that she cannot be that thorough. She's got to clear that waiting room. Right. But like hiring an actor to faint.
That's a bit much. But, it's a sitcom. Yeah. So you do these things.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great scene. It was pretty good.
Well, there's this one part, I think it's just I love Clark so much. The character is so great. And so he was, when they were talking to the actress who fainted, right? And he's just like, you were so good that I was like, oh my God, she's fainted. And then I was like, what do I do? And then I realized I'm a nurse. I know exactly what to do. And I just thought that was so cute and adorable.
I love Jonathan Slavin. Yeah. I think he is one of my favorite parts of the show. I may have a little crush.
I think we all do.
Yeah, there you go. We had an opportunity to talk to Kate Simses on set.
So, for your character, we're starting to get to know her a little bit more, through just the interactions at work at the HMO, and also through her friendship with Clark, and just kind of some of the things. What do you hope for your character, and different ways for us to get to know her over time?
I hope that at some point we get to see Julie actually practicing some medicine, actually interacting with a patient, sort of that. Because I do believe that she's very book smart, and that she really probably had, ace grades throughout her schooling, but that sort of personal interaction with a patient, I think that's something she's going to need to work on. So I feel like that's something I would like to see.
I think so too, because I think when a lot of us watched the first few episodes, it wasn't clear that she was a doctor.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah, I think that needs to be a little clearer. But that gives you an idea of how much responsibility they want to give Julie initially, because they're like, I don't know about this girl. So hopefully she'll come into her own a little bit more in the medicine part of the journey.
Okay, and so if we wanted to follow you on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle?
It's easy. It's at Kate Simpson on Twitter.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joz.
Thank you.
So one of the funny things that kind of drives this episode is that Ken really wants that middle seat, and Dr. Oz has that middle seat. So, there's this kind of fight whether or not he's going to be able to switch or not. It's like a whole, Bernie Sanders in the middle seat thing going on. I don't know. Do you have a seating preference on planes?
Yeah, when I fly, I prefer the window seat. I mean, obviously.
too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
Yeah.
some people really do prefer the middle seat. These people are insane. But, you know, and I get if you're tall, why you want the aisle seat. But I'm not that tall. My legs are kind of short, so I like the window. I can look out. I get to control the light if there's light coming in. And also, if I get tired and I want to stretch, I can stand up and I don't hit the top because I'm so short.
Oh gosh, I definitely cannot stand up if I have that situation. But I have like a mild claustrophobia thing going. So if I am able to look out the window, somehow that makes it okay, even though like I'm stuck in a giant metal tube for however long. But yeah, so. When you've been in either like any of the seats really, have you ever had like interesting seatmates that you've been put next to?
You know, I tend to have conversations with strangers on the plane. I'm not the one who starts it, but I will usually continue a conversation if somebody's really trying to, you know, engage me. I bet you have some good plane stories, don't you?
I have a number of them. I usually end up with interesting conversations and things happening. The two that I can think of offhand. One, I ended up with a flight wife, is what I referred to her as. She and I became really close on a very short plane ride from Los Angeles to San Francisco that was then going to continue to Boston, because we were both heading to Boston for the holidays. And so we had to switch planes, but we knew each other. So we, for some reason, decided it would be funny if we pretended that we had fallen in love on the first flight. And so we started this whole thing because I think I had asked somebody to like send a message back to her when they walked back because she was in the second flight further back. And so it just kind of like, we kept one-upping each other to see like how ridiculous it could get until finally we had like I asked her out on a napkin that we handed out all the way back, and then she bought me a drink and it went up and it was like back and forth.
So the whole plane is in on it.
The whole plane ended up in on this thing that they thought was like a real, you know, romance that was budding. And in the end, we had to pretend that we had fallen in love by the time we got to the baggage claim. And we've stayed in touch. We've become friends. Yeah, she's also in the entertainment industry. So, and then the second one, this is one of my friend Sharon's favorite story, is that it was also another like bi-coastal flight, and I was really tired, and the guy who was sitting next to me in the middle seat was also really tired, and throughout the long flight, we just both kept waking up with one of our heads on the other's, complete strangers, but it was like, I'm not gonna wake him up, and I guess he said I'm not gonna wake him up, so multiple times we just kind of had this like, you know, experience where we were sleeping on each other's shoulders, but we never spoke.
It was just
we never spoke. It was just this like thing. So when we got off, I was like, well, we've had such an intimate experience. I feel like we passed the point where we can have an actual conversation. I don't know. So yeah, I guess I have my flight experiences. So with the Park family, the majority of this story obviously is stuck at an airport, stranded. Which can be a total travel nightmare. What kind of travel nightmares stories do you have? I feel like we all have some.
Well, you know, considering how much I travel, you would think that there would be more. But actually, my travel story doesn't have anything to do with an airport. It was actually in a hotel.
Oh.
It's New Year's Eve in San Francisco, and I was I had just gotten out of the shower. We were getting ready to go out for New Year's Eve, and I was naked in the hotel room, about to get dressed, when the hotel room door opened, and in walked a Japanese man who was coming down the hallway, and I flipped out because, well, there's a stranger walking into my hotel room.
How did he get in?
Well, he had a key.
Yes.
So what had happened was, I dove under the covers, and then my Yoshi went out there to say, get out of the room, and was really mean to him, appropriately so, because I was naked. But
it wasn't his fault. I mean, he ended up in your room by accident, right?
Right. So what had happened was he had stayed in the room the night before, and he left, I guess, money, passport, whatever, something valuable in the safe. And so when he came back to say, first he tried to get in the room with his key, and it didn't work because we had heard somebody try to get in, but we figured drunk person New Year's Eve, right? So then he went downstairs to the front desk and said, my key doesn't work, and they didn't check to see that he was actually in the room. So the person downstairs issued him
What?
a key to our room, and he tried to get in to go to the safe. And the poor guy, in his defense, didn't know, and he was just trying to get to his safe. And now we're yelling at him, "Get out of our room!"
Well, he
And
probably assumed that the hotel wouldn't have given him a key if somebody was staying there.
so yeah, so that's what happened. And so like I flipped out, like, appropriately, I think. And there was a phone in the bathroom. So I went into the bathroom and I started calling security. I called the operator. I called the front desk. I was just calling and yelling at people at some point.
You're in your like naked safe room.
Yeah. From now on, it's not the bathroom. It's the naked safe room. But anyway, we ended up getting upgraded to a suite
Sure.
that night. And then, apologies and champagne and we were gonna
There you go.
We were gonna go out for New Year's Eve. We ended up staying in because we were in the nice suite, and yeah.
Thank you, Japanese peeping Tom. That was great.
What about you?
Travel nightmares. I mean, I would say, I've been pretty fortunate as well. I mean, I've had stories where things have happened while on trips. Like one of the trips in Nicaragua, we were supposed to, it was totally a Gilligan situation where we were supposed to it was like a 3-hour tour basically to this island in the middle of Lake Nicaragua, this like beautiful tropical volcanic island in the middle of the lake. And the seas were rough in this lake. And basically we got stranded there overnight. And we were all freaking out. When are we gonna get back? People were missing their flights, all this stuff. And everybody's, like we didn't have any changes of clothing or anything.
Right.
We didn't have toothbrushes, so we're gargling with rum, like.
That doesn't sound so bad.
Well, no, that was great. I was a kid too. I was like in high school. So my dad's like, just gargle with rum, it'll kill the germs. I was like, all right, it worked. So anyways, once we finally got back on the boat, this was like a day and a half later. Basically, they had said that we haven't seen weather like this in like 50 years. And last time this happened, nobody could leave for like a week. So we're all freaking out. We ended up being able to leave that next day and a half. And we were all like, we're never going back. We're never going back. Oh my God. Well, the next year we ended up going back and spending like a week there. And it was beautiful and it was lovely. But besides that, I've been pretty lucky. I was once on a defunct airline from Amsterdam. It doesn't exist
That doesn't
anymore.
sound good.
Well, no, I
Starting
mean,
right
at the
there.
time it was a real airline,
Okay,
but it exists no longer. And I was also in high school, and I had hair down to here, and the stewardess walks up to me and she goes, "Coffee, madam, or sir?" And I started cracking up because I thought it was hilarious. And she took offense to it. And I was like, I'm the one who's supposed to be offended. And I was like, the sir will have tea. Anyway, those are my stories. But yeah, I mean, I kind of, speaking of like, travel nightmares and whatnot, I don't mind being stuck in an airport. I know that sounds weird, but I always feel like I'm in limbo, and it's just kind of this like, I can do anything I want because I can't do anything else kind of situation. So I don't know.
I think you're the only one.
I don't mind being, I don't know, I kind of like it. It's like you're in limbo. It's time is frozen. You can't do anything until your plane leaves.
Well, audience, let us know about your travel nightmares. Comment, tweet at us at Post Show and Tell, like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that fun stuff. Eric, thanks so much for joining me.
No problem. Bye, everyone.
See you next time.